Shutterstock. Audit. We initiate the audit of your ultimate asset class, which is not your portfolio or your real estate, but your genetic capital. You must understand that you are not an individual floating in a vacuum of time. You are the tip of a spear that has been thrust forward by millions of years of survivors. Every single one of your ancestors, going back to the single-celled organism, succeeded in the two most difficult tasks in the universe: surviving long enough to reproduce and successfully passing the torch of life before dying. If a single one of them had failed, if one great-grandfather had been too slow to outrun the tiger, or one great-grandmother had been too weak to survive childbirth, you would not exist. Therefore, your existence is a statistical miracle. It is the result of an unbroken chain of high-agency operators who conquered their environment. The soft man views his life as his own to waste. He drinks, he smokes, he eats poison, he sits in a chair, and he watches pornography. He believes his body is his playground. The architect views his life as a fiduciary responsibility. You are the custodian of a genetic code that was forged in the fires of the Ice Age, sharpened on the savannas of Africa, and battle-tested in the wars of antiquity. To let that code rot in a cubicle, to let it degrade through sloth and gluttony, is the ultimate betrayal. It is treason against the bloodline. You are squandering the accumulated capital of 10,000 generations. Genetic capital is the concept that your biological health, your intelligence, your resilience, and your vitality are a currency that can be grown or squandered. When you train, when you learn, when you endure hardship, you are methylating your DNA. You are flipping switches. This is the science of epigenetics. You are rewriting the software of your germline. When you are weak, you are passing on a corrupted file. When you are strong, you are passing on an optimized file. We must analyze the dysgenic drift of the modern world. The environment we live in is designed to destroy genetic capital. We are bathed in xenoestrogens, plastics, processed soy, seed oils, and blue light. These are mutagens. They lower testosterone. They shrink the hippocampus. They weaken the sperm count. Sperm counts in the West have dropped by over 50% in the last 40 years. This is a biological crash, worse than the Great Depression, yet no one talks about it because the system wants weak men. A weak man with low genetic capital is a good consumer. He is tired, so he buys energy drinks. He is depressed, so he buys pills. He is infertile, so he buys IVF treatments. He is a profit center for the medical industrial complex. The architect declares war on this drift. You protect your payload. You treat your testicles like nuclear warheads, because they are. They contain the blueprints for the future. You avoid the plastics. You eat organic. You filter your water. You keep your phone away from your crotch. This sounds paranoid to the civilian. It sounds like asset protection to the architect. You are guarding the seed. If the seed is corrupt, the harvest will be rot. You cannot build a dynasty on damaged DNA. We must dig deeper into the epigenetic memory of trauma and triumph. Science has proven that the experiences of the father are visited upon the son. If a mouse is traumatized by the smell of cherry blossoms, its offspring, who have never smelled cherry blossoms, will fear the smell. This is transgenerational epigenetic inheritance. This means that your cowardice is heritable. If you live a life of fear, submission, and anxiety, you are literally coding predisposition for anxiety into your children's biology before they are even conceived. You are burdening them with your weakness. Conversely, if you overcome fear, if you build muscle, if you solve complex problems, if you impose your will on the world, you are coding resilience into the germline. You are giving your children a head start in the evolutionary race. This is the heaviness of the burden. Your gym session is not just for your vanity, it is for your grandson's mental health. Your discipline in the kitchen is for your granddaughter's fertility. You are carrying the ghosts of the future in your loins. When you understand this, I don't feel like it becomes an impossible sentence. You do not have the right to feel. You only have the duty to optimize. We must also confront the biological bank account. Most men are in genetic debt. They are biologically older than their chronological age. They have short telomeres. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Every time a cell divides, the telomere gets shorter. When it gets too short, the cell dies or becomes senescent, zombie cell. Stress, sugar, lack of sleep, and inflammation burn through your telomeres like a wildfire. You are spending your life force at a deficit rate. The architect practices telomere lengthening through meditation, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, and fasting. You can actually slow down or reverse the attrition of these caps. You are are buying time. You are compounding your interest. A man of 50 who has preserved his genetic capital looks and performs like a man of 30. A man of 30 who has squandered it looks 50. This biological age gap is the true inequality of the future. The rich will not just have more money, they will have more life. They will have functional bodies for 100 years, while the poor, in discipline and knowledge, will be decrepit by 60. You must decide now which class you belong to. The currency of the future is not Bitcoin, it is biology. Let us analyze the market value of the phenotype. Your phenotype is the physical expression of your genotype. It is what the world sees. In the sexual marketplace, which is the only market that matters for evolution, your phenotype is your pitch deck. Broad shoulders, clear skin, symmetrical face, low body fat. These are not beauty standards, they are health signals. They signal to the female brain. This organism has high genetic capital. He has an immune system that can fight parasites. He has testosterone to protect resources. He has the discipline to maintain his vessel. The soft man tries to negotiate attraction with money or nice words. This is a beta strategy. You cannot negotiate desire. Desire is a biological reaction to a high-value signal. The architect maximizes his phenotype to maximize his options. He builds the body to signal dominance and vitality. He understands that by increasing his genetic capital, he gets access to higher quality mates, and the quality of the mate determines the quality of the offspring. This is the compounding effect of evolution. High-value male plus high-value female equals super high-value offspring. If you are low-value, you will settle for a low-value mate, and your lineage will regress. This is dysgenics. Your duty is to ensure eugenics, in the personal sense of good birth, for your line. You must be the bottleneck through which only excellence passes. Finally, we arrive at the sovereignty of the blood. In a world that is trying to turn everyone into a generic, gray, interchangeable unit of production, your specific genetic heritage is your anchor. It is what makes you you. The system wants you to forget your ancestors. It wants you to be a global citizen with no roots, because a man with no roots is easily moved, easily sold to, and easily controlled. The architect honors his genetic capital by knowing where he came from. He looks at the traits of his grandfather, the stubbornness, the strength, the grit, and he amplifies them. He looks at the weaknesses, the alcoholism, the temper, and he ruthlessly edits them out. You are the editor-in-chief of your family line. You have the power to stop the generational curses and accelerate the generational blessings. You are the bridge. Do not let the bridge collapse. You are not just building a body. You are building a biological fortress that will stand for centuries. The money will be spent. The houses will crumble. The only thing that remains is the DNA that walks the earth long after you are dust. Make sure that DNA is strong. Make sure it is dangerous. Make sure it is capable of winning the wars you will never see. We now transition to Phase 2, the dynastic execution. Phase 1 was the internal preservation of the capital. Phase 2 is the external investment and the merger and acquisition strategy of the bloodline. You must understand that the most critical financial decision of your life is not which stock to buy, but who you breed with. This is the genetic merger. The soft man chooses a wife based on vibes, shared hobbies, or immediate sexual availability. This is the equivalent of buying a company because you like their logo. The architect approaches mate selection with the rigor of a private equity takeover. You are looking for a genetic co-founder. You are looking for a woman whose biological assets, health, intelligence, temperament, lineage, longevity, complement and enhance your own. You are looking for the womb that will act as the factory for your legacy. This sounds cold to the romantic. It sounds like survival to the realist. If you plant high-quality seeds in toxic soil, the crop fails. The environment of the mother, her stress levels, her nutrition, her hormonal profile dictates the hardware of your child's brain. You must vet for discipline. You must vet for sanity. A chaotic woman is a genetic liability. She will introduce cortisol into the developmental environment, wiring your children for anxiety. You need a partner who is a force multiplier, not an entropy generator. Shutterstock, Audit. We must then analyze the architecture of the tribe. Genetic capital thrives in a pack. The nuclear family, mom, dad, kids alone in a box, is a fragile modern experiment that is failing. The historical standard is the clan. You must build a chosen tribe of high-value men who share your values. These are your genetic allies. Their children will marry your children. Their strength will protect your resources. The architect essentially practices selective breeding through social engineering. You surround your children with winners so that winning becomes their baseline normality. If your children grow up surrounded by soft men, they will mimic softness. If they grow up surrounded by architects, operators and killers. They will mimic power. This is social epigenetics. The culture of the tribe activates the genes of the individual. You must ruthlessly curate who has access to your heirs. You are the gatekeeper. If you let mediocrity into your house, you are poisoning the well. We must dig deeper into the transfer of competence. It is not enough to pass on good genes. You must pass on the operating system to run them. This is the difference between nature, DNA, and nurture, the code. Many great lineages fall because the father was a lion, but he raised a sheep. He gave the son the money, but not the struggle. This is dynastic suicide. The architect understands that he must manufacture controlled hardship for his offspring. You cannot let them be comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of genetic expression. You must expose them to cold, to exertion, to competition, to failure. You must force their genes to activate. A muscle that is not stressed atrophies. A child that is not challenged becomes a trust fund brat, a biological dead end. You are not raising children. You are raising future patriarchs and future matriarchs. You must teach them the family code. We do not quit. We do not lie. We protect our own. This oral tradition acts as the software that prevents the hardware from crashing. We must also confront the dysgenic pull of the screen. The iPad is the enemy of the architect. It acts as a digital lobotomy for the developing brain. It destroys the dopamine reward pathways. It prevents the development of deep focus. A child raised by screens will have the attention span of a goldfish and the emotional resilience of a toddler. You must go analog. Your children should be climbing trees, fighting with sticks, building fires, and reading paper books. This develops proprioception, body awareness, and spatial intelligence. It builds the neural pathways for problem solving in the physical world. The soft man uses the screen as a babysitter because he is lazy. The architect bans the screen because he is protective. You are fighting for the neural architecture of your descendants. You want them to be the ones programming the AI, not the ones enslaved by it. Let us analyze the legacy of the name. In the old world, a name meant something. It was a brand of honor. If you were a Smith or a carpenter or a Rothschild, it carried a set of expectations. The architect strives to imbue his surname with gravity. You want your name to open doors for your great-grandchildren. This requires a 100-year vision. You're not living for the weekend, you're living for the century. You ask yourself, will this action increase or decrease the power of my name in 2126? This creates high time preference. You delay gratification now to compound power later. You build the family bank. You create the family trust. You write the family constitution. You are creating a sovereign state within the state. When you operate on this timeline, the petty problems of the present dissolve. You are playing the infinite game. We must then address the biological imperative of expansion. Stagnation is death. If your lineage is not growing, in numbers, in wealth, in influence, it is dying. The architect has a pro-natalist mindset. You want more children, not fewer. The modern narrative says, kids are expensive, the world is bad, don't breed. This is a death cult propaganda designed to convince the smart people to self-extinct. Meanwhile, the impulsive and the dependent are breeding without pause. This is the plot of the movie Idiocracy becoming a documentary. The architect rebels by having a large family. He views children not as consumer liabilities, things that cost money, but as productive assets, allies who extend the reach of the dynasty. He builds the resources to support them. He builds the infrastructure. He creates a genetic army. Even if you only have one or two, you ensure they are so high quality that they count for 10. But the drive is always towards life, towards more, towards dominating the future through demographics. Finally, we arrive at the immortality of the chain. You will die, your body will rot, your money will be divided, but your genetic capital, the specific sequence of nucleotides that codes for your eyes, your aggression, your intelligence, can live forever if you manage it right. You are the temporary vessel for an eternal flame. Do not let the flame go out. Do not let it flicker. Feed it with your discipline. Shield it with your choices. Pass it on brighter and hotter than you received it. This is the only form of immortality available to a biological organism. When you look into the eyes of your son, you are looking at your own resurrection. When you train your daughter to be strong, you are armoring the mother of your future kings. Take this seriously. The world is trying to sterilize you physically and mentally. Resist. Optimize. Reproduce. Conquer. The bloodline is all there is. We initiate Volume 2 of the Genetic Capital Protocol, shifting our focus from the biological preservation of the individual to the operational architecture of the dynasty. In Volume 1, we established that your DNA is an asset. Now we must establish the holding company that manages this asset through time. The soft man raises children. The architect raises successors. There is a violent distinction. A child is a pet you keep until it is 18. A successor is a strategic lieutenant you are training to take take command of the ship. The modern world is designed to sever the bond between father and son, to replace the patriarch with the state, and to turn your offspring into compliant, debt-ridden employees. To resist this, you must build a parallel institution within your own home. You must treat your family not as a sentimental unit, but as a sovereign microstate with its own laws, its own economy, and its own foreign policy. If you do not govern your lineage, the television and the public school system will govern them for you, and the result will be the destruction of your genetic capital within one generation. We must first implement the internal economy of the clan. The soft man gives his children an allowance. This is economic poison. It teaches the child that money is a function of time and existence. I exist, therefore I get paid. This breeds the employee mindset and the entitlement virus. The architect bans the allowance. He implements the family bank. The child gets nothing for free. If the child wants money, they must identify a problem in the household, propose a solution, negotiate a price, and execute the labor. They are not doing chores. They are fulfilling contracts. Furthermore, the architect acts as the central bank. If the teenager wants a car, you do not buy it for them. You offer to finance it. You lend them the capital at an interest rate. You teach them about debt service and collateral. You let them feel the weight of the obligation. If they default, you repossess the car. This sounds harsh to the civilian. It is love to the architect. You are simulating the ruthlessness of the real world within the safety of the home, so that when they enter the real market, they are already sharks among minnows. You are vaccinating them against poverty by exposing them to the mechanics of wealth creation before they can even vote. We must then dismantle the indoctrination of the factory school. The modern education system was designed by Prussians in the 18th century to produce obedient soldiers and factory workers. It punishes creativity. It punishes movement. Sitting still for 8 hours is biological torture. And it punishes independent thought. It conditions the child to seek external validation, grades, from an authority figure, teacher. This destroys the sovereign instinct. The architect may use the school for socialization, but he provides the shadow curriculum at home. This curriculum focuses on the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the real-world skills that schools ignore: sales, negotiation, combat, and taxation. You teach your son how to box so he knows he can take a punch, eliminating the fear of physical confrontation. You teach your daughter how to read a P and L statement so she is never financially dependent on a man. You expose them to the classics, Marcus Aurelius, Sun Tzu, Machiavelli, before they are 12. You are building their operating system to run on a higher frequency than the masses. While their peers are learning how to color inside the lines, your heirs are learning how to buy the coloring book company. Let us dig deeper into the rite of passage. In every tribal society in history, there was a clear demarcation between boy and man. It usually involved pain, isolation, and a test of competence. The modern world has removed this. We have adolescence, a purgatory of extended childhood that lasts until age 30. This creates man-children who have never been tested. The architect reintroduces the rite of passage. At a certain age, 13, 16, 18, the heir must undergo a crucible. This could be a solo wilderness trip, a martial arts tournament, or a business challenge where they must earn a specific amount of money from zero. The goal is to manufacture controlled trauma. You want them to hit a wall, break down, and rebuild themselves without your help. You must watch from a distance and not intervene. The mother's instinct is to protect. The father's instinct must be to initiate. You are cutting the psychological umbilical cord. Once they pass the test, you change the dynamic. You no longer treat them as a subordinate. You treat them as a junior partner. You welcome them into the council of men. This ritual confers status. A man who has earned his manhood does not need to act out with petty rebellion. He possesses a quiet confidence that stabilizes the family. We must also analyze the geopolitics of the bloodline. Where you live determines who your children become. This is environmental epigenetics. If you raise your children in a safe, sterile, upper-middle-class suburb, you are risking safetyism atrophy. They will be soft because they have never seen danger. If you raise them in a chaotic inner city, they will have high cortisol and trauma. The architect seeks the frontier. This might be a literal farm, a challenging city, or a nomadic lifestyle. You want an environment that offers variable adversity. You want them to see the hierarchy. You want them to interact with different classes of people. You want them to understand that the world is big, dangerous, and competitive. You do not hide the reality of violence or poverty from them. You show it to them as a lesson. Look at that man. He made bad choices. That is why he is sleeping on the street. Do not make those choices. You use the world as a laboratory. You are immunizing them against the liberal delusion that everyone is equal and outcomes are guaranteed. You teach them the iron law of nature. You get what you hunt. Let us dig deeper into into the council of elders and family governance. A dynasty cannot run on the whim of one man. It needs a constitution. The architect calls regular family meetings that function like board meetings. You discuss the state of the union. You discuss finances, goals, and grievances. You allow your children to speak, to argue, to propose ideas. This trains them in rhetoric and governance. You establish the family values not as vague platitudes on a wall, but as actionable rules. Rule number 1, we do not lie. Rule number 2, we keep our word. Rule number 3, we defend the family name. If a rule is broken, there is a tribunal. This sounds formal, but it instills a deep respect for law and order. It teaches them that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They are citizens of the family name. This reduces teenage rebellion because they feel they have stakeholder status. They are not subjects. They are citizens with rights and responsibilities. We must also confront the biological warfare of the food supply on a dynastic level. The system is poisoning your children to make them infertile and docile. The plastics, the seed oils, the microdosing of soy, this is an attack on your genetic capital. The architect implements a biosecurity protocol for the home. You ban the poison. You teach your children why they cannot eat the colored slime at the cafeteria. You explain the biochemistry. That food makes you weak. We are not weak. You make health a central pillar of the family identity. We are the type of family that trains. We are the type of family that eats meat. This creates tribal distinction. It makes them feel special, elite. It protects them from the peer pressure of the herd. When the other kids are eating garbage and getting fat, your heir looks at them with pity, not envy. You are hardwiring a superiority complex based on biological reality. This arrogance, if tempered with manners, is a protective shield against the degeneracy of the modern world. Finally, we arrive at the 500-year vision. The soft man plans for Saturday night. The architect plans for his great-great-grandchildren. You must ask yourself, what structure can I build today that will protect my bloodline in the year 2030? This leads to the creation of trusts, land holdings, and intellectual property that cannot be easily sold or squandered. You create a dead hand structure, rules that govern the inheritance so that a foolish heir cannot spend the principal, only the interest. You write letters to your unborn descendants. You create a family archive of photos, journals, and lessons. You are attempting to defeat time. You are trying to ensure that your spirit, your values, your competence, your drive echoes through the corridors of time. This is the ultimate ego death. You realize that you do not matter. Only the chain matters. You are just a link. Your job is to be the strongest link in history, to hold the tension, to bear the weight, and to forge the next link with absolute precision. When you live with this weight, you walk differently. You are not just a man. You are the founder of a nation. The directive. Go home and look at your children. Do not see kids. See generals in training. Stop coddling them. Stop distracting them with screens. Start training them. Build the bank. Build the school. Build the culture. If you do not initiate them into your world, the world will initiate them into its slavery. The war for the future is fought in the nursery. Win it.